Awareness That Heals, episode 115.
We are now in the second progressive meditation, observing and caring for your anxiety in a series of several meditations, in case you haven't seen the first one. And if you haven't, I strongly encourage you to watch it. So continue to give yourself a reminder that developing your remembrance of the observer or the witness and finding a place that is actively wanting to care for your anxiety is the beginning key healing capacity when dealing with this anxiety and all emotions in every aspect of our lives. And not just observing, but when we see it accurately, we also want to develop our capacity for caring and responding. This sounds very simple, but I promise you, from 50 years of experience, this is not a capacity that many of us have either practiced or been taught. And so be gentle with yourself as we're going through these meditations, because it's very likely there will be a lot of new information, and your acceptance of yourself wherever you are is a key feature. So now please get ready for the guided meditation. So let's start by allowing yourself to recognize that you have an intention to care for yourself when you feel anxious. Just let that in. Visualize yourself being anxious and, I remember, I want to care for myself. Even if you can't start caring for yourself, you know you want to. Gently say to yourself, anxiety, every time you are here, I want to recognize you and continue to increase my capacity to bring my heart and wisdom to you. Take a look and see how much can you appreciate this intention, because the appreciation of your intention will feed the intention. And this is one of the most important intentions any of us could ever have. So in addition to seeing your anxiety clearly, let yourself also see how much you want to care for yourself and enter into what might be called a deep wish or prayer to develop an expanded level of tolerance and kindness toward the anxiety. And recognize your ordinary reflex. Go inside and remember moments when you have really been anxious and how absent most of those moments are from this tolerance and kindness. And give yourself a suggestion. I want to bring more and more tolerance and kindness when I'm anxious. This is the next floor of your elevator to care for yourself, for developing self-compassion. This increasing tolerance and acceptance is a major increase of caring. A way to help you develop a greater tolerance and acceptance is, first, you need to identify the anxiety as anxiety, and then find your way to gradually learn how to disidentify with it. Now, I'm going to say that again. First, you have to identify the anxiety as anxiety, but then gradually, you want to learn how to not be so fully identified with it and return to become more of the observer, which gives you the freedom to not be dominated by the anxiety. Take a look and see if you can notice that by identifying first the anxiety, you can then learn to gradually not be so identified with it, or you can gradually disidentify from it. By recognizing that you are also the observer and that you want to care, this can teach you to be naturally more tolerant and accepting. So again, see, how much are you tolerant and accepting of your anxiety? For some of you, it will be a huge leap to be barely tolerant, because the other alternative is to ignore it or to judge it. And so wherever you are, appreciate that's where you are and see that you can see the potential of being able to be tolerant and accepting. Do you really get the uncommon capacity to be able to be free, increasing parts of yourself, to gain this tolerance at those critical moments, especially? Not now, but the now is when the anxiety is really hitting you. And also, if you're criticizing yourself in any way, gradually learning, or maybe quickly learning, to let go of the criticism. Look for situations or people where you're much more prone to suppress the anxiety and ignore it, or perhaps become very critical. Make a mental note. Remember who this is, and that you want to be more aware, and that you are the observer who wants that. Sometimes it is a huge victory to really just barely tolerate the anxiety and move toward greater tolerance and acceptance. Let yourself focus on a kind exhale to get to wherever point you have gotten to, and to really let yourself have an informal prayer for more. Your tone of voice inside you, even as you're thinking about this, is crucial. So see if your internal tone of voice can be kinder and kinder, sweeter and sweeter, more and more tolerant and more accepting. When you see that you aren't, treat this limited tolerance with respect, as otherwise it will at least partially own you even more. I'm glad I can see you at all. Anxiety, I aspire to be your friend and make space for you to breathe and to see you in perspective as a passing through feeling, even if it's a lot of feeling. Continue dialoguing. Anxiety, I see you, and I'm focusing on being caring, gentle, tolerant, and accepting, and bringing that to you as much as possible. Not just understanding this in the head, but deeply storing this as much as possible inside you, enough to have it be awakened when you need it the most, when you're anxious. How much do you get this? And whatever you come up with, being as tolerant as possible. And thanks so much for your quality attention. So again, as you look back at the meditation, the key thing is, where are you really? And that's sacred. If you have 1/10 get it, half get it, whatever it is, just allow yourself, as I said in the meditation, to be tolerant of your intolerance, to be accepting of your inability to accept, and recognize that you want to keep deepening that. But most importantly, see where you are and develop this tolerance and this acceptance, and that will help you so much on your journey. And thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Awareness That Heals. Please click subscribe so you won't miss an episode. If you love the podcast, the best way to help spread the word is to rate and review the show. This helps other listeners like you find this podcast. We're deeply grateful you're here and that we have found each other. We encourage you to download our introspective guides at awareness-that-heals.org. They will be helpful to you while listening to our podcast.